Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Glad to have you here. Today we're in another quick battle on our journey up the leaderboard. This time I'm taking my dwarf army here against the Empire. And so the keys to this dwarf army are the 4 rangers, main line of 6 dwarven warriors, 2 longbeards, 1 grumbling guard here in the back, 2 miners, and a dwarf warrior to protect the grudge thrower and the slayers here. So let's go take a look at the enemy army comp. He's got 2 outriders here on the far flank. So they are definitely going to be a threat. Armor piercing damage here in the form of the rifles. He has 2 swordsmen here as kind of like a lighter flanking force to try and get at some of my ranged troops. He has a huge power core here of 5 greatswords, and so these are definitely the biggest threat on the field for me. This is a lot of armor piercing damage, and I have to try and keep it managed somehow. In the back here, he has Karl Franz, unmounted, probably just to be cheap, and he has a witch hunter to try and snipe, presumably to try and snipe rune lords and rune smiths. Look at that little rapier. And then in front, of course, he has 3 handgunners. And so we're going to advance here, and I see this kind of core here, and I know he's gonna try and skirmish, and so that is definitely something I have to be worried about. But I do believe that my rangers here are gonna do great against the handgunners just because of their shield here. And so they should do fine against the handgunners. And he can't see them, so my longer range and the element of surprise here will all be an advantage. You're going to see my grudge thrower here just open fire on the greatsword line. I'm going to keep this ranger here off to the side to try and shoot these outriders. And as soon as I damage a unit, you can see I'm going to switch to the next. I'm just going to try and deal a lot of damage across the board here to these greatswords. Try and give my dwarf warriors here more of a fighting chance. So here you're going to see the first shots get fired as they come into range. And just that split-second advantage is going to be helpful. If I can drop somebody, that's 1 less gun firing. You can see that huge volley there. It's not actually going to do that much. It is going to knock them back. And I'm going to pop my runesmith's ability here just to give them a little bit more survivability here. But you can see how much damage I'm already doing to this middle handgunner. I have 2 guys shooting this one and 1 guy shooting this one. And that's just how it turned out when they auto-selected. Here you're going to see I'm going to do a little bit of damage here to these outriders when I spring my ranger trap. And you can see I'm perfectly content here with exchanging fire. My grudge thrower is firing, and my rangers here are opening fire, and so that's fine with me. The more damage here I can get on these greatswords, the better. You can see I'm going to route 1, and still very limited damage here against these rangers. Definitely one of my favorite units here on the dwarf roster. The stock is just such a powerful ability in a ranged unit. So in the back here, he's going to place his outriders, trying to poke when I'm not paying attention. But I am going to turn my dwarf warriors around here. They don't have shields, but it's still better to face. And I'm going to try and make their line here as long as the Slayer line, just to protect them from gunshots. The Slayer in this battle actually doesn't have very much use. There's not really anything for it to kill. But we'll see what happens with it. So you can see that skirmish phase definitely went in my favor. And I'm going to switch targets off this greatsword onto this one. I'm going to pull my rangers back. Bit of a micro mistake here. I turned these guys to face them towards the outriders, and I never turned them back. Here you can see a Rune of Wrath and Ruin coming off on these greatswords, just trying to get that cooldown started. I'm going to try and run away with these dwarf warriors, but then I'm going to think better of it and countercharge. You can see Rune of Wrath and Ruin here going off on these guys, and that's going to help my dwarf warriors. Master Rune of Negation here, active when the charge happens. Very important. But you can see how he had a longer line here than me. So he's going to engage one of my flanking units of Dwarf Warriors, and so that's going to leave a big gap here for me to be worried about. I'm going to try and fill it here with these miners. When on this side I have 2 units to match their 2 units. Karl Franz here, walking, definitely a micro mistake there. Definitely want to get him into combat with the rest of your troops. My miners here are going to charge, and my rangers here are going to try and fire in and help. More stuff going off here. I haven't charged in my armor piercing damage here yet. Here we go. I'm going to put them help just support this main line. My Quarrelers, not the best spot for him here, but I'm still kind of deciding what I want to do with these guys. You can see I still have a lot of reserves. I have these Dwarf Warriors, and I'm going to swing them around here because I see how badly this miner is losing. I'm going to move some of these rangers out here. And one of the problems I have regularly is I click an attack order on something, and that causes your ranged units to walk towards it to try and get in range, when I really want them to run towards it to get in range. And so that's a common micro mistake, at least for me. You can see how the one kind of arrow there is meaning it's moving. It's just walking instead of running. Here you can see I'm going to cast Rune of Wrath of Rune because I see this is kind of a weak point in my line. It's a point where a lot of my troops, like these troops here, have the aura, the effects of the runesmiths, but this guy doesn't, so he's going to need as much help as I can give him. And at this point he's going pretty well. I'm going to move this ranger up here close to shoot these guns as they come into range, and I'm just going to send my Dragonback Slayers in, help defeat Karl Franz because they don't really have any other target. Here, bit of a micro mistake. While I'm moving my rangers to the flank, they're going to get caught in the enemy unit, but this one's going to be fine, and it's going to start shooting in. Or actually, I think I turned him around here to shoot at these Outriders as they came into range. Very annoying unit for me to deal with. My Goblobber here routed this guy. The flying goblins indicating or terrorizing the handgunners to run. I think you can actually hear them scream if you're not in a replay. But as these guys come in, they're going to get shot to pieces by that guy. And I'm going to move these rangers here around to the flank to try and help this fight here. So you can see my rangers are going to deal with one, while the Goblobber here, with the minus 16 and the minus 32, they're really going to have no hope and they're going to shatter, which is exactly what I want. Again, I did the same thing. The very edge of my rangers here got caught. Embarrassing, but you can see here that my Greatswords are losing. But you can see here that these rangers are having a great side shot here into these swordsmen, and that's something that he sees, and that's not going to be okay. So he's going to charge in his Outriders here into the back of my rangers, and that's fine. They're basically, they've done all they can in this battle. Here, his Greatswords are finally going to break through, and things like this can easily slip by in a battlefield. So these Greatswords, they broke through, and then they get caught on this other unit that's also in battle here. You can see they're going to get caught on these few Dwarf Warriors, and that's going to allow my Rangers here to just fire straight into their flank as they're just slightly engaged with these Longbeards. And there's really just not much you can do about that. I'm just not capable of that sort of micro either. You have to be kind of everywhere on the battlefield at once. But I was lucky enough, I was paying attention, and you can see I'm going to shoot into the flank of these Greatswords, and it doesn't matter how armored they are, that's still going to be a huge leadership penalty. You can see these Rangers in a perfect position, going to wreck these swordsmen here. And here you can see the charge of the nobility, because the Outriders are usually made out of the nobility who can afford fancy things like guns. We're going to see their charge here against the Rangers as they try and brace, pull out their melee weapons. It's quite a jump, but it's not going to do them any good. And they're just going to go flying. Wow, I didn't think they would do that well, but they knocked every single ranger, losing decisively. Shoot him while he's down. That's fun. Definitely going to tie up these guys. But there's the main line engagement just went too much my way. I have too much left here, especially in the Grumbling Guard and the Longbeard with great weapons. You can see those Greatswords are out, and these guys are going to rout too. We'll watch a volley here. Cut them down as they run. Still proccing all my abilities, and you can see the Slayers in combat here with his heroes. Send all my reinforcements in, and that's going to be that. This dwarf army is really good. It's really good, and it seems to be able to do anything, no matter if you bring armored troops, if you bring a mass of lightly armored troops. Even I've had a battle with these guys where they brought like 3 hell cannons, and the ranger's stock ability, I was able to get and sacrifice a ranger to get in range of one of the hell cannons, use my goblobber to kill the other, and the ranger's stock ability was able to just sneak up on the hell cannon and shoot it to pieces before you even notice what was going on. And so these rangers definitely give a ton of versatility to the army, and makes it so you definitely don't have to move. This army is definitely dependent on not moving and having the ranged advantage. And you can see these rangers here all got amazing kills here. For a 500 gold unit, they definitely pulled their weight. These Slayers didn't really do much. There wasn't any really thing for them to do. Great kills here on the Longbeards. Even though I got them in so late, they still did great cleaning up the remnants of the Greatswords. And I spread them out like that so that they can help as many fights as possible along the main line. And the defensive buffs you're giving them with the Runesmith and the Runelord should make sure that they don't die because of that. You can see these Dwarf Warriors did their job, didn't get very many kills, but definitely did a lot of damage here to the Greatswords and to the Swordsmen on the right flank. These Miners here did better than I thought they would against the Swordsmen, but they did their job, held up, didn't die, worth 300 gold right there. This Dwarf Warrior did great. It's important to have a semi-useful unit back there, just to put them wherever they need to be, and this is the unit that I like to put. The Goblobber here, 120 kills, definitely pulled its weight. I like to bring this one for the leadership penalty and for the... it just has more accuracy. I feel like it hits more often than the normal Goblobber. But you can see here, shut down the handgunner line with the Rangers. 1 and 1 and 3. That's 1,800 gold. I think 600, yeah. 1,800 gold here. That did basically nothing in that battle. I definitely don't like leading my handgunners in the front. They just can't stand up to them. I definitely like to have the handgunners behind the line, shooting through gaps and maneuvering on the edges of combat, though they are harder to protect there. These Outriders, just unable to really get in and do what they needed to do, skirmish unmolested for a really long time. And with 4 Rangers, they're really never going to have a chance. And so that's why this army definitely relies on these guys. You can see good kills here across the board with the Greatswords, especially against the limited number in the Dwarf roster, or just the Dwarf units with their limited numbers. Even with the artillery fire and the ranger fire and everything, they still managed to pull out a ton of kills here. Swordsmen, I definitely like bringing these swordsmen against the dwarves just because they're cheap and shielded, but they're definitely not going to be the killing power of your army. They're really just going to be a meat shield for your heroes or for whatever you spent your money on. In this case, it was the Greatswords. And so I might have had a couple of those guys in front of the Greatswords maybe, to protect them and just take the brunt of anything really. But yeah, anyways, good game to God Emperor here, and that's that.